All right, this Hummingbirds at the Feeder. Welcome to Overboard Birding, the site for overly bored birders, because just beyond boredom is brilliance. Today we're going to talk a little bit about these hummingbirds. What it is about hummingbirds. I mean, millions of people attract hummingbirds, and I mean, who wouldn't? They don't think about it. They don't make a mess. So I'm going to tell a quick little story. My mother had some flowers. She brought these flowers inside, and I saw a hummingbird come towards that, and they came right inside the house, and so I thought that was cool as heck. When I went down to Nevada, I saw another lady that was doing this, so I got to meet her, and she had hundreds of hummingbirds in her house. And I thought, how do you do this? Well, she let me put a little bit of honey. I mean, she had trained these birds to land on her shoulder. She put a little bit of honey on her lip, and the bird would, hummingbirds have a long tongue, and they'd send that tongue out clear to her lip and take the honey off her lip. And it was so cool. And I says, well, how do you clean up after these? And she says, they virtually burn up everything that they eat. I mean, they leave a tiny little red, because her color was red. They left like one. I couldn't even find it. You had to look really closely on the floor, and you'd see a tiny little pinhead of dropping. And that was after months and months of having them in her house. I mean, you know how most birds leave a pile, like starlings or, swallows. They're just atrocious after one day. These hummingbirds, she had raised 200. The way that she went about raising so many is her plants, her birds came in to the plants, the honeysuckle that she had on wheels on a planter in her living room. She didn't mean that. That was unintentional, but they came in, and pretty soon she thought it was kind of cool. They weren't making a mess, so she let them nest there. And she thought, that's great. Then at the end of the season, they'll just move on. Well, the season changed really quick that year, and she left her windows open for them to go, but they didn't go. They stayed. They stayed right there at where they were comfortable, and I guess they didn't notice the severe weather change because they were indoors. So she didn't know what to do. What do you do now? If you turn them loose, they might freeze. So she just closed up her bay windows and thought, I'll just keep them for the winter. And she just kept her feeders full inside the house, and they did great. They actually doubled, and they just had so many babies. And by springtime, she had them again, and like I say, at the end of it all, she had 200 to 300 hummingbirds zipping in and out of her bay windows, and that's when I saw them. It was just so neat. Anyway, so at the end of that year, she shooed them out, closed the windows, and made sure they were acclimatized to the climate and took off, and they come back. I mean, her yard is just full of just hundreds and hundreds of hummingbirds now. In fact, I think she probably. I'm not opposed to captive breeding. They say some of these are endangered. I'm all for captive breeding. You avoid the predators, the diseases. I mean, it's not a bad idea. In just 1 year, she probably increased the population by 300, 400, 500. That's just incredible. So that's what I have to say about hummingbirds. Hope you enjoyed this version of overboard birding for the overly bored. Thanks. Bye. God bless.